Alright, most of you by now have probably seen all three truck videos, the equipment tour videos of the trucks, and a couple of you have noticed that we didn't have a truck 13. Well, we do and did have a truck 13. Now, I'm not superstitious in any way, but I'm kind of wondering right now if I should be. Most buildings, high-rise buildings, here in the States anyways, they don't have a 13th floor label that goes right from 12 to 14, and there's a little bit of superstition behind that. But at any rate, we did have a truck 13. It was a 2004 International Paystar 5600i. It was a truck that I bought in August of 2014. It came from a Canadian dealership. I don't know if it was, I can't remember now if it was R&L Trucks or Sheehan's out of Ontario, Canada. But the truck was I don't know if a lumber company owned it or a company that primarily sold sheetrock, because what it had was a crane of some kind on it, crane and a flatbed and whatnot. So we put the truck together in the winter of 2015, had a slide rail system on it, large hydraulic valve assembly with like 6 or 7 work sections on it. That's pictured right here. We do all our own hydraulic work, frame work. We put a lift axle on it, 20,000 pound steerable, ride well, lift axle. The truck was teal in color, and we painted it red and black. And we were hauling manure with it. In October of 2015, it was the last Monday of the month. Jared, he was actually driving it, and where we were hauling to, his load was gonna be the last load that got spread there, and we were gonna move from there to another field about 400 or 500 yards from it, and he went off the road and rolled it over. It was loaded with manure, and he was only about 300 yards from where he went off the road. He went off the road into one of our fields. Didn't lose any manure out of the tank. The tank went completely over, and had the tank not come separated from the truck would have ended up landing on its wheels again. So it went 3/4 of the way over. You can kind of see that in the pictures here, whatnot. We didn't have truck 14 at the time, and we did not have the C5, so we were hauling with 4 of our trucks, 3 straight trucks and 1 tractor trailer, and another private guy was hauling with us as well. One of the guys that was working for us at the time, he was driving truck 12. I don't remember where he was in the line, but Jared was actually in front of me, so I was the next one behind him anyways, and my load was going to be the first load to the next field that we were moving to. So the guy that was running truck 12, he called me and he said, hey, so-and-so called me. It was a friend of his, and said, hey, there was a fire call that went out, and there's a Horgan truck off the road. Where is everybody? Meaning, where are our drivers? Who have I seen? I said, well, I seen so-and-so, and I seen the 3 other trucks. And I said, I haven't seen Jared yet. Have you seen Jared? He hadn't seen Jared either. He had just left the field and passed Jared right about in here. So we're descending down over Monroe Road right now, and it had occurred to me that, well, if everybody's accounted for, it's got to be Jared. So one of the neighbors down here, off on the other side of the road, he had called me. I'm en route. I'm headed to the field, and thinking the worst. You know, the field that we were going to move to would be on the right-hand side of the road here. So I'm thinking the worst, you know, and not really sure what the heck's going on. I didn't know if maybe he just backed off the road and you know, got the truck stuck, or, you know, I didn't know if maybe the information was slightly wrong or what. But so he come down this hill, turned left here on this side road, and we were spreading down at the end of this road here. It wasn't maybe a quarter of a mile from here. Now just past this speed limit sign here, he went off the road right about here. Went off the road over this bank and rolled the truck out into the field right there. Now, there's just enough of a knoll here where we were spreading was just down here. We were backing in a driveway off this corner here, and there was two guys with spreaders sitting right here waiting for the next load. We were backing in this driveway right here. So I don't know what happened. He must have got too close to the shoulder. He fell asleep. I don't know what happened. So at any rate, the neighbor down that lives right in the area here, he had called me, and he was on the scene, and he says, look, it's your son Jared. He went off the road. It looks real bad, but don't worry, he's okay. He's up and around and talking and whatever. Now there is 4 fire departments in this area: Camillus, Fairmount, Onondaga Hill, and I believe Taunton. And each day of the week, except Friday, I think they alternate on Fridays, unless there's a 5th department. They take turns on having a pretty good staff on call and in their fire department. And this was on a Monday, and Monday is Camillus's day to have a staff of emergency personnel at the firehouse. So by the time I rolled up on the scene, I was already on my way from the lagoon to, you know, I had a load of manure, so I'm just trying to get there as fast as I can. And the fire department was already there. They were there before the 911 call ended. They were on the scene, and they had Jared loaded. You know, he was walking around, but when I got there, he was loaded in the ambulance. He had a busted up lip. His eyes were, one of his eyes it was black and blue. I talked to him for a second, asked him if he was okay. He was shook up, upset with himself, and whatnot. He was only 18. And I called my wife. I was going to ride in the ambulance, but I ended up staying there to get the mess cleaned up and whatever. I called my wife, told her what happened. She was hysterical. I said, look, he's all right. Meet him at the hospital. And so she met him at the hospital. And then what we ended up doing was we brought a manure spreader over, telehandler. I don't know if we brought an additional tractor or if we unhooked one of the tractors off the Husky tank. But what we ended up doing was we hooked up hydraulic hoses. Actually, one of the guys went back and made up some hydraulic hoses that were longer so that we could run the fan pump on the tank that was on the truck that was rolled over to run off of one of the other trucks. Then we we ended up swinging the boom over, cut the end of it off because that was bent up a little bit. We cut the end of the boom off and loaded the manure directly over into a night spreader, spread it off to get the tank empty, and then we cut the angle iron sills that you see all bent up here. We cut the bolts out of the tank, and then we ended up dragging the tank to the side of the field. We flipped the truck back over on its wheels, dragged it in behind the barn, and we didn't have a lowboy at the time. Casanova Equipment, our John Deere dealer, ended up trucking the truck back to the farm. We were actually able to, I think we drove the truck right up on the lowboy, I believe. Yeah, we did. We drove the truck up onto the lowboy. We brought the truck back to the farm. Insurance company came and looked at it, and obviously they totaled it. We bought the truck back from the insurance company, and then we ended up working on the truck throughout that winter. We were able to salvage the engine and the transmission, and we ended up swapping the wheels off of it. They had hub piloted wheels on it, and the truck that I bought, which is pictured here, had Dayton wheels on it. Now, this happened in 2015. In the early summer of 2015, the guy that we buy some trucks from, we bought truck 12 from, and truck 14. He bought 14 and 15 and a few others from an oil field company out in Ohio or something. And he texted me one morning and he says, "Hey, I have these trucks here. Are you interested in any of them?" We were kind of interested in another truck, but you can't find these trucks all the time. You got to kind of buy them as they come along. So he told me what they were, and the truck 14, the 2006, had minimal miles on it, only like 30,000 miles on it or something. And I said, hey, I'll take that one there. And ended up buying that one. Now, truck 13 was bought in August of 2014. We bought truck 14 in like June or July of 15, but we didn't have time to put it together until the winter. He had some paperwork to take care of with it. I told him, I'll take your time getting it to us. We maybe didn't see that truck until like August or so. Yeah, truck 14 that is. And he also had a couple of trucks that didn't have engines in them. Truck 15 was one of them, and I knew about that truck. They had C16s in them, and the oil field company either recognized that them engines were worth a lot and the trucks weren't worth much. Maybe they figured that, and they sold the engines out of them, and probably figured the way the oil price of oil was at the time, them oil field companies were making a lot of money, and they probably realized they could flip their equipment a lot easier than trying to repair it or whatever. So we have this freaking rollover, and we realized that the engine was good and the transmission. They totaled the truck, so we ended up buying truck 15 from the same guy that we got truck 14 from. Subsequently, we bought truck 12 from him as well. I had to get a bell housing for the engine that come out of 13 to put in truck 15. The engine was a C15 MBN motor, ran real nice, has lots of power. It still does. We were concerned that since the truck rolled over, wasn't running. It was running Jared said he shut it off. So he shut it off immediately. So the engine we kind of thought was fine, and it has been fine ever since. You're talking 3 years ago now. We haven't put anything into it. We had to put a radiator. I think we put a new radiator on it. We changed everything over. From the 2004 to the 2001, as far as the engine and the transmission went, the seats were a little better. In the 04, we had to do some work to the hinges on the hood. If anybody knows about the Paystar hinges, they're horrible. Bought the bell housing for like $1,200 or something like that on eBay. We put that on the engine, painted the engine, put the engine in the truck. We sent the transmission out. Since we had the transmission out of it, we sent the transmission out to have it rebuilt. We put a new clutch and a remanufactured, well, actually it was rebuilt because it was our transmission, rebuilt transmission into truck 15, and then we worked on truck 14 and truck 15 at the same time. I ended up taking the lift axle out of 13, and that actually went into truck 14 because we had truck 14 in the shop before we had 15 ready to go. We had a lot of work to do to truck 15. It was a lot longer than what we needed. We brought the wheels ahead on it. The trunnion was the framework that held the rear end and whatnot. That was somewhat rotted out, so I ended up buying all new pieces. I had a shop in Fulton form all the pieces that I needed, and when we moved the wheels ahead, I drilled all the new holes, mounted that trunnion frame or whatever the heck it's called in truck 15, put a new lift axle on it, the same kind that I had for truck 13. It ended up in truck 14. Bought the new lift axle. I had to buy a new hoist. We built brand new frame rail for to slide the tanks and the boxes on and off. The tank got bent up pretty good. Now the tank, we didn't only lose maybe a garbage can's worth of manure out of that tank when it went over. Other than a swing boom, we had to put a new swing boom on that tank, but everything else but the fenders was salvageable. The fenders that are on the tank that's on truck 15 now actually came off of the truck 15 when we got it as a cabin chassis. It had a goofy flatbed. Truck 15 had a goofy flatbed of some kind with the fenders incorporated right on the truck, and we used the fenders to put on the tank. We ended up cutting the old fenders off of the Husky tank. We had some baffles that were broke inside the tank. We cleaned the tank out, wire wheeled the whole inside, straightened the baffles out, put some new pieces in, and welded that all up. And then I ended up painting the inside of the tank with POR 15. Now that tank is it's 10 or 11 years old. It's about expired, or it was, and we kind of brought it back to life. And any time now, if we had to replace it, we'd be fine with it. We've got more than our money's worth out of that tank, even prior to it getting flipped over. Now, we were able to pop some of the dents out of the tank, but the back part of the tank, it got into the bulkhead pretty good, and we just could not straighten, we could not push that dent out. Now, there was some pretty good dents up in the front, towards the front, in the center part of the tank. We were able to pop them right out with a porta power, but that back part where it's dented into the bulkhead, we couldn't get that pushed out, so that's got a little bit of a character value to it with the dent still in it, but everything works fine on it. The sills were straight, and whatever like that. So that is gonna about do it for the story on truck 13. We won't put a truck back in that one's place. We will discard that number, if you will. Yeah, so that's the story on truck 13. It's kind of one of them moments that we're not too proud about, but at least Jared wasn't hurt. If anything, his pride was hurt a little bit. Accidents do happen. You try to do all you can to prevent them. He just got too close to the edge of the road. There was no shoulder there, and I'm glad it went over into our field than any place else. So that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks again for watching. Hit the thumbs up. Drop me a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I wish back, when this happened, we actually did some actual videoing, but we didn't, and that's why we've got all just pictures here. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you at the next video.